The area of a square is 6 times the area of a rectangle with a length half that of the square and a width 6 less than the width of the square. Okay, there's quite a lot to unpack here. Let's just get the square down, and I'm going to say that its sides are x, which means its area is going to be x squared. Okay, I've already dealt with that. Right, the rectangle is where it's going to be a bit trickier. So let's just read this again. The area of the square is 6 times, right, we'll come back to that, the area of a rectangle with a length half that of the square. So I'll say that this is the length. It's going to be a half x, and the width 6 centimeters than the width of the square. So the width is going to be x minus 6. Now I could rescale this and call this 2x so I don't avoid a fraction, but I don't think I'm going to do that here. It doesn't look too bad. Okay, and I'm ready to write down an equation. So we're saying that the area, oh, sorry, I haven't written down so it's going to be a half x times x minus 6. Right, so the area of the square is 6 times, so x squared is 6 times a half x, x minus 6. And actually, the fraction's all sorted now because I can do 6 times a half to give me 3. Right, let's keep going with this algebraically then. X squared is going to be 3x squared minus 18x. I can minus x squared from both sides to give me 2x squared minus 18x is equal to 0. That's good. I can now, so we're trying to solve what is actually a quadratic equation here. And you may never have seen how to solve these before. So here I'm going to show you if you're not sure. We can actually divide through by a common factor of 2, or you could factorize it out, but it's just a bit easier to divide it. So x squared minus 9x is equal to 0. Okay, and the way to solve quadratic equations is try to write it so you've got a times b equals 0. Something times something is 0, because what that means is that either this is 0, because when you times two numbers together, you can't do like 1 times 5 is equal to 0. It just doesn't work like that. The only way you can get 0 is if one of them is 0. So either a is 0 or b is 0, or both in this case. So we can factorize out an x here. It's going to be x times x minus 9 equals 0. And what that means, I'm going to come up here, is either x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 9. Sorry, I think I did that too quickly. Either this bit is 0, so x is 0, or x minus 9 is 0. And if x minus 9 is 0, then it must be that x is 9. The thing that you're taking something, you're subtracting 9 and getting 0. The thing itself must have been 9. What you can learn over time is that you just swap the signs around. Because I got x minus 9, it becomes x equals 9. I just got into the habit and did that really quickly. Okay, we can reject the x equals 0 because that doesn't actually give us a square or a rectangle. It doesn't have any dimensions. So it must be that x is 9. What is the perimeter of the square? Well, it's just a square with lengths, all lengths 9. So it's going to be 9 times 4, which gives 36. Now, one other comment, I just had a little look at the answers and I thought, because it's very likely when doing this challenge, you wouldn't have covered how to solve quadratic equations. I think it's still good to look at it and see that you just have to treat them in a slightly different way. Let's look at one other way we could do it though. So you could say that x squared is equal to 9x and then divide through by x. Then you get x equals 9. Okay, and you might say that's loads easier. Just have to be careful because it works here because x equals 0 is not a solution. But I teach students sometimes that later on when they're doing GCSE and A level and so on, they start dividing by these factors. And in questions where we don't have sort of a physical problem where we can reject the length, they actually ignore a solution. So in the long run, it is really good to kind of learn how to factorize. In the short term for this sort of question, then absolutely fine to divide by the common factor. You can even, to be fair, divide by this common factor of x, but then you're not allowed to divide by something when it's 0. So you can also just sort of say, okay, x is equal to 9, or when I'm not allowed to divide by x, that's when x is 0, that's going to be my two solutions. Again, we would reject that one here. So yeah, good questions to see in a Junior Maths Challenge, a little quadratic coming about. This is how you typically do it when you fully learn about them, and sometimes you have to put them into double brackets so they can get a bit more involved. But in this case, absolutely fine to do this as well.